Hello, my name is Ashley, this is Faithful Rattos, and welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to do a little bit of a recap of 2025 with me and the rats, and then I'm going to share with you some of my main plans for 2026 when it comes to the rats and other pets. So the first thing I wanted to go over is my spending for 2025. I did a dedicated video to this for my 2024 spending, but since I wanted to do a recap because lots of things has happened and I've got lots of cool things planned, I thought this could go into this video and just be a little bit of a segment. So I'm just going to quickly go over my spending, and if you want to see how this compares to last year, you can go and watch that dedicated video. I will say it is less, although not significantly less than last year. So my total for my rat spending for 2025 was £5,842.54. Of that, £2,861.19 was vet bills. So vet bills still remains to be about 50% of my spending, and everything else, shows, food, substrate, all of that is the other 50% roughly. Category wise, I'll do those first. Food, I spent £691.85. Treats, I spent £78.73. Cage items, I spent £327.05. For substrate, I spent £315.52. For inverts, this is like my stick insects and the isopods, I spent £27.72. For shows, I spent £477.47. For medical, so this is things like weight of baby and syringes, so not necessarily vet, but still health related, I spent £294.17. And other, I spent £723.84. So that is various things that I got for breeding that wouldn't really go into any of the other categories, my website hosting, my RatCam subscription, and later on in the year, the RatWise subscription as well. So monthly, I spent in January £340.67, in February £352.19, in March £378.09, in April £385.05, in May, £517.94. In June, £455.23. July was expensive because of vet. Lots of vet things happened in July. So in July, I spent £976.98. August, I spent £378.67. September, I spent £348.03. October, I spent £436.82. November, I spent £597.07, and December I spent £675.80, and my monthly average was £486.88. So I had a good chunk of the year that was under £400. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, half of the year was under £400 a month. Then we had a couple of 400 and 500s. We had a 600, and then we had the 900, which was almost £1,000 because of vet bills. So I think I did pretty well this year. I was really focusing on buying only the things that I needed and not going overboard when I didn't need to. My rats got everything they need, and they got, extras as well. But I was really, really focusing on not going extremely overboard. I will say on the vet front, it was about £1,000 less this time around. And my other spending was it was a little bit less, but it was more on par. I think the reason why my vet bill went down so much is because this year I had significantly less rescues or like rehomes than I have had in previous years. And I've had quite a number of my oldies pass away, but without any major health concerns, if that makes sense. So there wasn't a lot of vet bills during the year. So yeah, that was my spending. If you want to see a breakdown of this, I do have this available on my Instagram in a highlight reel where I post my spending monthly, and you can see everything that I bought with the prices as well. This year we had 18 vet visits, which I think is half as many as I had last year, which is, as I say, I think a lot of it is to do with I had very well-bred rats. I had quite a lot of young rats this year, and I didn't have as many rescues. And I think that's the thing that makes the vet bills go really high. I think my vet fee, like how much I spent, would have been significantly less, but I had quite a number of surgeries this year. So that does sort of factor in. Now, onto the exciting, one of the most exciting things of this year was my breeding journey, which was so exciting because I'd been waiting so long, so long to get to the spot where I could start breeding. So in January, I got my foundation does. That was very exciting. Marissa, Sophie, and Serafina, who I didn't end up using for breeding, but I still love her all the same. Then we got my first 2 books, Burdock and Beatty, and they were wonderful. And together, those girls and boys sired my first ever litters. And I did also get a second pair of books later on in the year, Goro and Riptide. And so thankfully, I have a lot of good plans moving forward with my situation, even though I had a bit of a hiccup when it came to my initial plans. I'm really happy with how my first litters have worked out. It was such a wonderful experience with the does, with the babies, and the babies that I picked are some really solid rats. They have great type generally all round. They have wonderful personalities. The boys especially are so sweet, and I can't wait to use them in the future. I'm so proud of how well they've done at shows this past couple of months as well. Bridges has 5 stars. He's won Kidnap Pet. He's won specials. I've won Novice twice. I've been to 3 shows. One of them didn't have Novice because it was an MRC unstarred show. But the 2 shows that I went to that had Novice, my boys got Novice. And my does are amazing. Lyra is so beautiful, and I think she would do really well at shows. However, she's not a standardized variety, so I can't put her in varieties. She's beautiful though, and I can't wait to see what her babies are like. Yeah, I'm so happy that I waited until I did, that I waited for the foundations that I waited for, because it worked out exactly how I wanted it to, and the rats I've got out of it have been absolutely amazing. And seeing the ones that I didn't keep in their new homes, the updates from those pet homes that I chose, has just been so wonderful. And to see how they are just a part of the family with those people is absolutely amazing. I've taken my kittens on a little trip out, aside from shows, to visit some of the kids that I babysit, and they were so well behaved. Kids loved them, and yeah, that was just wonderful. So all around, it's been absolutely amazing on the breeding front. Now, I know I am going to have hiccups when it comes to my breeding journey, and it started out with hiccups. I'm going to have losses, I'm going to have devastating things happen, but I'm really glad that we started out how we did. I also wanted to mention the rats that we have lost this year, and a place where I can memorize all of them. So this year we unfortunately lost 10 rats. Now, the majority of these rats were older, and their deaths were expected or not super traumatic, if that makes sense. So the first rat we lost this year was Tushy. He passed away peacefully at home. A couple of hours before, he'd been absolutely fine. He'd been running around causing mischief, stealing Jaffa cakes off me, and then a couple of hours later we found him passed away in the cage. RK unfortunately wasn't too old, but he was still, on the older side. He unfortunately had this really nasty tumour on his jaw that we don't think was a ZGT. We think it was a different type of tumour, but it was wrapped all around his jaw. It was really awful, so we had him put to sleep. Tiffin had his ongoing ear and neurological problems, and I was planning to have him put to sleep, but he passed away at home. So that was, now looking back, with all these months' hindsight, I'm actually glad that he went at home, because for him, going to the vet was stressful. And so he didn't have to go through that. But I do feel like I waited a little bit too long, and that maybe I should have had him put to sleep a bit earlier. But I am glad for him that he went at home. Then the next loss was unfortunately Kiryu, who we lost after his neuter surgery. Then we lost Perdita. She was getting spayed for pyometra, which is an infection of the uterus, and she didn't even make it through the sedation. She was very sick and quite old as well. I think she was 31 months or something like that, so we lost her. And then one of the youngest rats we lost this year was Sashimi. She was about 15 months when we lost her. She had a very sudden neurological episode, and she was so unwell that I didn't think it was fair to even try steroids with her, so we had her put to sleep. Stendar was put to sleep after a couple of weeks battle with heart or respiratory issues. Cheeky was put to sleep. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Cheeky, but she was put to sleep after about a month or so of being unwell, and she was really, really special to me, so that was really, really difficult. Then Nocturnal, or who we called Birdie, she was put to sleep for heart issues, and Chetney was also put to sleep for heart issues and just general elderliness and his general decline in quality of life. And so we did lose those 10 rats this year, and it was awful. However, in all of those cases, I know I did my very best for them and I made the right decision for them at the time. It was hard, don't get me wrong, and especially for Rat Dad, Birdie and Chetney were very, very, very special to him, like Cheeky was to me. So we've had it a bit rough in that regards, but we haven't had anything super traumatic. Like, most of them, apart from Sashimi, were kind of expected, and also Kiryu, but Kiryu was slightly different because I know he went in his sleep and that was peaceful for him. But yeah, so those are the 10 rats that we lost this year. And I did want to speak a little bit about Cheeky because she was a heart rat for me and she was so, so, so special to me. And I met her this year and I lost her this year. We adopted her in January. She had become a lone rat and her breeder had posted her online to hopefully find her a new home. And that breeder is Novigrad, who I got Burdock and Beatty from, and obviously they sired the litters for me this year, and obviously so she is not very closely related to them, but is somewhat related to them. And when I saw her picture, it was just before Christmas. I just knew that she was going to be mine, and I was going to have her for the rest of her life. And as soon as I met her, her previous owner passed her over to me, and she just cuddled up in my arm for hours and hours and hours on the very first day. And I have not had a bond with a rat like that ever before. And it was just so, 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 so special. We loved each other so, so, so much. And I just knew that, like, she was meant to come here for her twilight years. And eventually she did get really cheeky, as her name would suggest, and brave. And she would leave our cuddles and go and explore. But she was just a wonderful, wonderful rat. And I'm so glad that I took so many pictures and videos of her snuggling with me because I can go back and look at them and just remember how she was. Losing her was really, really difficult. She had we don't exactly know what was going on with her, but she was going through like neurological things, and she got better and she got worse and she got better and she got worse. We ruled out a couple of things, but she was still unwell, and she just got to the point where she wasn't able to eat. She was losing a lot of weight, and I'm going to have to pause this video and come back later. Sorry for the interruption in this video. My mother-in-law came over I thought I had time to film the video before she got here. Turns out I did not. So sorry for that interruption, and the framing is probably a little bit different now. But yeah, we're going to carry on where I left off. So yeah, losing her was really, really difficult. Just the whole process of it, but also her being gone, it was really, really hard. But I knew in my heart that that wasn't going to be the end of her spirit. I knew that she was going to live on. And obviously I know that her descendants are in these litters that I had. And it's just so exciting because there's one little rat that I kept, Dandelion, if you've watched my Meet My Keepers video. And she looks a bit like Cheeky. She's a different variety, but she looks a bit like Cheeky in the face, I think. And she just has a little bit of her spirit in her, which is really, really nice and special. So yeah, I'm so glad she came into my life this year. I just wish she was around longer than the couple of months that she was here for. Okay, so looking into 2026, I have a couple of really exciting things happening and plans that I have, which I want to share with you. So the first thing is my breeding plans for 2026. I'm sure lots of people want to know what's going on. So my plan is to do 2 rounds of litters in 2026. The first one being in February, and then another one around August, September time, like last year. So in February, I will be pairing the new girls from my litters who will be old enough then. They'll be about 6 months by the end of February. And I'm going to be pairing them to Burdock and Goro and Riptide. This is because these boys will be older, and I'm planning to keep my current books from the litters I kept, for the next generation so that I have more data on them. This way I am hopefully avoiding having to use very young books. That is my aim, that when I keep books, it will be keeping them for the next generation. I do plan on using BT again in the future if that works out, but just with the varieties that I have here, because he's a sable and all of the does I have are either like prune, a sable, or Burmese, mating a sable to a Burmese will just give me a lot of options that I don't want to take. I really don't want to be breeding a bunch of sables. So by not breeding BT this time around, I'm avoiding that issue, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have some Siamese out of these litters, which is what I really, really want to hope for. The next pairings after that, again, as I said, will be in August, and they'll be using the does from those litters that I have in February, hopefully, and a variety of the boys, hopefully including Bridges and Porter, who are the boys that I kept from the litters. Another super exciting thing that's happening in about a week's time when I'm filming this video is me and Rat Dad, we are going to become budgie parents, which is really exciting. So I will be doing a whole video about that, and I've already filmed some clips. But basically, the budgie basically landed on our doorstep and we rescued it, and there's a whole story behind it, which I'll save for that video. But we are going to be rescuing this little budgie and another friend for it from a lovely rescue called Charlie's Place. And I'm so excited. We have the cage set up and everything. And I'm really excited to have a pet and just have it as a pet and not get so all in with the rats. Like, obviously, I'm going to be obsessed and love it and, like, you know, research and do everything for it. But it will be different than I think with the rats, hopefully, anyway. And then the last exciting thing, which if you will have seen my last video, you know what this is. The last exciting thing is my book. So I wrote a book in 2025, mostly this year. I did start it a little bit into 2024, but I wrote a book and it's coming out on the 26th of January. It's really, really exciting. I've been working on it a while, and I've been working with my friend Hannah on the cover and the illustrations for a while now. So yeah, it's really, really exciting. It is about a little rat called Lox and a little girl called Golda who finds him in the woods. And it's about how they rescue each other, I guess, a little bit. It's about friendship and patience. And I'm really, really excited for it to come out. It is aimed at children, but I do think that any rat lover would love it and would appreciate the story. It is hopefully going to be a trilogy as well. So I have an arc planned for Golda and Lox to sort of a full story for them together, but it's very, very exciting. So it's going to be released on January the 26th, which is really exciting, on Amazon, and it should be available in pretty much all of the Amazon worldwide shops, if that makes sense, and it'll be available in 3 different formats. So it's available in ebook, hardback, and paperback. Ebook you can currently pre-order now via your Kindle, and hardback and paperback you can't pre-order. It's just the way that Amazon works, but they will both be available on all marketplaces from the 26th, which is really exciting. The books will also be available from Mischief Made as well. I'm going to see if any of the shops would like to stock them, but Mischief Made is definitely going to be able to stock it. So if you would prefer to buy from a small business and not buy directly from Amazon, you will be able to buy from Mischief Made as well. But yeah, I'm so excited about this. It's something I've been working on for a while. It's really, really exciting. And that's my plans for 2026. Second book coming soon. Yeah, it's so, so exciting. And I'm just so grateful for 2025 and everything that I've learned this year, everything that I've been able to do. And I'm really excited to look forward to 2026. So I would love for you in the description to tell me how much you spent on your rats this year, and also what are you looking forward to in 2026 in terms of your rats. If you like my content, you can subscribe to stick around. I make vlogs, educational videos, I talk about my own experiences, which does involve rats of various ages. And yeah, thanks so, so, so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!